Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Public Improvement Commission hearing of November 19th, 2020. Before starting it on the agenda, I just want to note a new feature within this platform for any members of the public who are looking to provide public testimony. We encourage you both or either to put your name in the chat and we can call you from there, or use the new raise hand function which is provided. Either of those will work and we can make sure to call on you for any public testimony associated with any of the items. Our first item are the hearing minutes at the request of the Public Improvement Commission staff, the acceptance of the minutes of the PIC hearing held on November 5th, 2020. Any questions or comments on the hearing minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to accept the hearing minutes of November 5th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Moving on to the public hearing portion. Our first item is on a petition by GUGV 212 Stewart Property Owning LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Boston proper, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk and roadway and pedestrian ramp reconstruction, as well as new and relocated specialty pavement, street lights, street trees, irrigation infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, groundwater recharge infrastructure, driveway curb cuts, and a silver cell groundwater retention tree root protection system. The locations are Stewart Street on a southerly side at address number 212 east of Church Street between Stewart Street and Shawmut Street, and Shawmut Street on this northerly side between Church Street and Coconut Grove Lane. This was new business on November 5th, 2020. And this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, 212 Stewart Street, Public Way, Boston, 5 sheets, dated September 2020.
Hey, good morning. This is Ryan Souls with the development manager for GUGV2 212 Stewart Street Property Owning LLC, also known as Greystar. We're the group advancing the 212 Stewart Street project. I just wanted to provide a quick introduction, and then I'll hand it over to the design team to walk through the request here. But Greystar acquired the development rights to the site this January 2020, and it is now currently under construction with expected completion in early 2022. A key part of this project getting approved and being supported by the Bay Village community was enhancing the public realm and rejuvenating the Church Street Plaza to create kind of a new entrance to the Bay Village neighborhood. So the PIC license that we're seeking today incorporate the original intent of this commitment, while also balancing some small design modifications to support final coordination and also incorporate feedback from the BPDA, Design Review, Parks Department, Accessibilities, and the Bay Village Historic District. So I'll pass it over to the team here. I think John's up. John, we can see your screen. I can't hear you though. We lost your screen. I don't know if you can hear you or not.
Ryan, or John, let me know if you want to.
Here we go. Let's try this for the second time.
You asked about.
Good. How are we doing? Can we see the screen?
Yep, go for it, John.
All right. Good morning, and thank you for having us before you this morning. As you may recall, this application was before you in July of 2019 and approved. And what we have is we made some minor modifications based on a discussion that Ryan had just shared with you. Here's a nice rendering of what the building will look like when it's completed. This is the plan view, and this is what was approved last year in 2019, where we can see the improvements in the street trees along Stewart Street, and then the Church Street Plaza to the left here. What we're proposing today is a modification to the street trees along Stewart Street, and that's being driven by a change in the building design where the main entrance was shifted to the center of the building. And then along the left here on Church Street, we're maintaining the full plaza area, but the concrete sidewalk has been narrowed a little bit, 5 feet, but it's still encompassed with pavers on both sides. And at the pinch point, we still have an 8-foot clear path to travel between this planter box here and the street trees. Here's another view from the sky of what it will look like when it's completed.
Full screen. 'Cause that's
With
what
another
we
rendering
see email pop-ups.
from
We share,
of
like,
Church
the
of the
tab
Church
or
Street
the
Plaza.
postal window.
This plan here indicates we based on the new business conversation, we've bubbled the changes, so it's clear in your record as to what was changed. What we changed here is up in this area here, we have the new street trees that align with the plaza, with the new main entrance. And then for the conversation, that new business, this bump out, which was approved previously, is still being maintained, but we are proposing relocating a street sign, which right now is at the pole, to put it on a standing, put it on a pole itself. I mean, it's attached to a utility pole or light pole. We'll now install it here at the face of curb, and this will allow plows to understand that there is a bump out here during snow conditions. Along the next sheet, we have here, again, or along the plaza area, where we have the new walkway that comes through here. It's a 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk. All of this changes have been followed as well. And then moving on Belmont Street, at the request of Todd Lyman, we added the label Coconut Grove Lane here, so it's clear as to what all the abutting streets are. And that's the next article. So I'm happy to entertain any questions the commission may have regarding these revisions.
John, thanks for making clear sort of what changes are made, and thank you for responding to the comments that came up during the new business hearing. I do believe that there's some ongoing conversations which would not affect this particular action, but associated with the gas lamps or historic LED lamps. I think those conversations are continuing.
Yes, we've reached out to Joe Sullivan, and we're in the process of coordinating that with him in regards to installing the gas lamp. And once we determine that the gas lanterns is the way the city would like to go, we'll let Todd and the commission know.
Great. Thanks so much, John. Other questions or comments on the specific repair plan? Todd or Robbie?
We're all set on this one. The one request that I would have is that the project did a good job of highlighting with those bubble clouds what the revisions are. I would just ask that those be removed when Mylars are submitted.
You got it.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks, John. Any members of the public?
I see none.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by GUGV 212 Stewart Property Owning LLC for the making of specific repairs in Stewart Street, Church Street, and Shawmut Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our next item on a petition by GUGV 212 Stewart Property Owning LLC for the granting of a projection license for the installation of a canopy over a portion of sidewalk within Stewart Street, a public way in Boston proper, located on its southerly side of address number 212 East Church Street. This was new business on November 5th, 2020, and this is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Canopy License, 212 Stewart Street, Public Way, Boston, 1 Tuesday, September 2020.
Good morning, John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. As you can see in the rendering before you, this is the proposed canopy. Under the approvals of last year, we had canopies approved as well, but because the main entrance to the building has changed, the canopy license has to be revised too. The canopy projects 2/3 into the public sidewalk, and at the building face, it is 13 feet 6 inches above the sidewalk grade, and then at its limit, it is 14 feet 7 inches above the sidewalk grade. It consists of 134 square feet, is heat traced and internally drained, and as you can see in this rendering, there are some downlighting along the building face to improve the site lighting for access to the residents. Here's the actual plan itself, where the numbers that I just read to you are presented. 13.7 above the sidewalk, 13.6 at the building, and then the site lighting is right where my cursor is right here. The down lighting is right where this cursor is right here. And as you can see on the plan, it is heat traced and internally drained. Any questions? Oh, I also like to add that it's a metal material.
Thanks so much, John. Questions or comments by members of the staff? Or by members of the commission? Todd, Robbie,
All set on this one.
members of the public?
None.
Very good. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve a petition by GUGV2 212 Stewart Property Owning LLC for the granting of a projection license on Stewart Street as further read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you.
Our next item is on a petition by Black Deck Inc. doing business as French Quarter for the granting of a projection license for the installation of a marquee over a portion of the sidewalk within Washington Street, a public way in Boston proper, located on its northwesterly side, address number 545, southwest of Avenue de Lafayette. This was new business on November 5th, 2020. This was shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, during division license plan 545 Washington Street, public way, Boston, dated October 2020.
Hi, this is Brad Fredericks, Stuart Pitchell, proprietor of French Quarter. Stuart Pitchell, sign manufacturer, is on the call, and I see John Schmidt, the engineer, is also on the call. 2 weeks ago, the board asked if we could get an opinion from each engineer whether we should heat trace the sign. John suggested we do so, and that's what we will do.
All right,
John,
thank you.
would you put up the plan?
If I may, John Schmidt, yes, when you submit the Mylars, we will have a note on that saying that the sign will be heat traced and it will be fixed.
Great, for John, just to confirm, it's not currently on the Mylars that we have, like on the Mylars that are actually, on the Mylars will have a note that will be traced and turn and drain.
Correct.
Great.
We just heat traced.
Got it, thank you. For this, Brad. Stuart or Brad, do you want to walk us quickly through the plan? You're
Stuart, you there?
Stuart, you're on mute, it seems.
I'm sorry.
Got
We
me
lost
now?
you.
You got me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So this is an open. It's just it's as much a sign as it is a canopy because it doesn't protect from rain or anything. It's wide open as you look at it in plan and from below. It's a sort of a double-sided triangular sign that projects over the sidewalk 80 inches. The height above finished floor is in the drawing. I don't have it in front of me. I think it's not. Anyway, it is not. The lights are static. In other words, they don't chase. They light up their individual light bulbs with open face channel letters. All the attachment is going to be into pre-existing holes or the mortar of the granite slabs that are currently there, so as to not make any new penetrations. That's what I got.
Stuart, thanks so much. And John, this conforms with your recommendations? John Schmidt?
Yes, I asked that, my recommendation is that it be heat traced, so there'll be no icing conditions during the winter events. As far as internally draining goes, I don't necessarily feel that's necessary because with the heat tracing, the water will drip to the curb or the sidewalk. And with the granite structure, existing granite structure, to put internal draining is just cost prohibitive.
Questions or comments by members of the commission? Todd, Robbie?
We're all set with this one. Thank you.
Members of the public?
None.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Oh, hey, Doug Meyer here from the bid.
Oh, Doug, I'm sorry.
Not a problem, Chairman Osgood. Thank you. On November 5th, we furnished a support letter in support of this proposal by Brad Fredericks. Just to briefly summarize, Brad has been a model operator in the theater district since he opened Back Deck in 1989, more than 3 decades ago. He followed that with he opened Fajita's and Rita's 3 decades ago, 1990. He followed that in 2012 with Back Deck at 2 West Street, and then, of course, French Quarter just before the pandemic hit in February. We couldn't be more pleased to support this proposal. Thank you very much.
Doug, thanks for your comments, for the work of the bid. And appreciation to you and Rosemary and the team.
Thank you.
Public? All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I make a motion to approve a petition by Back Deck Incorporated, DBA French Quarter, for the granting of a projection license on Washington Street, as further read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to our fourth item on a petition by Lark Street Better Built LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in South Boston, consisting of sidewalk and pedestrian ramp reconstruction, as well as a relocated driveway curb cut. The locations are West 8th Street on the southwesterly side at address number 177, northwest of Lark Street on its northeasterly side, southwest of West 8th Street. This was new business on November 5th, 2020. This is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, 177 West 8th Street, South Boston, one sheet dated September 10th, 2020.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, Commissioner and members of the commission. First, this is Doug Stefanov, 420 Architect for Steve Hill at business address 423 West Broadway. Thank you for hearing us today. We come before you with a update on the 37-foot wide curb cut to allow parking for 4 cars for the proposed development of a 3-family building on the corner of West 8th Street and Lark Street in South Boston. We've done some slight modifications, just rounded it off to a normal figure. I have a letter I'd like to read into the record from Sarah Lewing, from the Architectural Access Specialist, that please ensure it's noted that the ramp on the corner will be reconstructed with yellow composite detectable warning surface, and the bollards will be removed on the corner. Additionally, the ramp will be rotated to align with pedestrian crossing and the other reciprocal ramp on the other side of the street. So yes, we will adhere to those recommendations as our previous ones. Everything else is as similar as it was last presented at our first presentation.
Great, Doug, thank you so much. So just to confirm, you'll be rebuilding both the ramps on both sides of Lark Street in line with Sarah's recommendation?
Technically, there's 3 ramps. So we're introducing new ramps on either side of the curb cut for the parking. And then there's a public ramp, which really feeds 8th Street on the corner. As you can see, it's kind of diagonal, and we'll align it with the ramp on the other side of Lark.
Got it. And the ramp on the other side of Lark is compliant currently?
I'm not absolutely sure.
Okay.
I'll double check.
All right. And just for clarification, Todd, if it is not compliant, or Sarah, would that need to be, that reciprocal ramp would need to be picked up in this, or no?
Yes, the project should confirm that the plants are compliant, and if they're not, they should be reconstructed. That should be noted on these plans. And one other point that I'll mention, the removal of the bollards is fine as long as we can determine that they're not there for some sort of safety reason. So I think we need to look into that a little bit more in depth, but we can handle that administratively.
Existing single-family, there was an existing single-family house there on the corner. That's why those were put in earlier.
I think that if I'm, and maybe I am not recalling this correctly, so Doug or Amy, tell me if I'm off on this. I think the one other issue that came up in new business was just confirming essentially the regulatory issues on the opposite side of the street and confirming that even with parking on that south side of Lark Street that you understood that cars would be able to safely exit your driveway. Amy, am I remembering that correctly?
You're correct. Amy? did you
You're
want-
correct, and he's confirmed that we do not need to restrict parking on the opposite side of the street.
Great. All right. Other questions or comments on this? Todd or Robbie?
All set?
Members of the public?
None.
Very good. All right, so I'll entertain a motion on this. Again, sort of with some final work to be done administratively with the PIC staff around the bollards and confirming that the pedestrian ramp on the south side of Lark Street is compliant, and if it is not compliant, that it's also part of the reconstruction work. Doug, that works for you?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. All right, I'll entertain a motion on this.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by Lark Street Better Built LLC for the making of specific repairs in West 8th Street and Lark Street, contingent upon final ramp design and bollard location. Is ready to
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Of course. All right, moving on to the new business portion. Our first item is Massachusetts Avenue, Columbia Road, Roxbury, Dorchester, specific repairs on a joint petition by the City of Boston Transportation Department and the City of Boston Public Works Department.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. For the record, my name is John Monticelli. I'm a senior engineer with the Boston Transportation Department and part of the project team for our Mass Ave proposal here. I'm joined by our consultant engineers, John McCarthy of Tool Design Group, and we'll be discussing the Better Bike Lane project for Mass Ave between Milnia Cass Boulevard and Columbia Road to the south. This stretch of Mass Ave is one of the worst crash corridors in the city for drivers, for people walking, and for people biking. Our project aims to make specific improvements along the corridor to address significant safety issues. It's only the first phase of the city's work to improve the conditions in this area, and today we'll be focusing on creating accessible ramps, adding a two-way separated bike lane, and building accessible bus boarding islands in this stretch of the corridor. We kicked off this project a little bit over a year ago and did extensive community and abutter engagement, including every single business on Mass Ave was visited at least twice, many times more than that, just to make sure we reached them and had a conversation in depth with them. There's a lot of excitement and interest in these changes, and we're really glad to be before you today with the project. So I'm going to hand this over to our consultant engineer, John McCarthy, and he'll walk us through the design elements.
Thanks, John and John.
Good morning, all. Can everyone see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yep. We got it now.
Okay, great. So as John mentioned, my name is John McCarthy, and I'm here from Tool Design. We're presenting today on our proposed 10-foot wide separated two-way bicycle facility. It's on the west side of Massachusetts Avenue. Facility begins at Milnia Cass Boulevard and extends south approximately a mile to Columbia Road. In addition to the separated bicycle facilities, as John mentioned, we are also proposing the 5 floating bus islands, curb ramp improvements, and bicycle signal improvements. I'm going to start first with the details page because these are repeated along the corridor. So on this page, we see the city's standard concrete curb barriers with mounted flex posts. These barriers will be placed in the striped median as a physical barrier between the vehicles and bicycles. The concrete barriers are spaced approximately 20 feet on center, and in most cases will be 11.5 feet from the curb. Here's the concrete barriers again. In this situation, we have the bullnose ends. These are used at the intersection treatments for extra visibility. And then we're also using city standard details for curb ramp improvements, sidewalk improvements, and drainage. I'm just going to skip down here. Okay, so here's the floating bus islands. As I mentioned, that we have 5 of these along the corridor. The bikes will be at road grade and elevate through the elevated crossing or the raised crossing behind the floating bus islands. They will taper down from 10 feet wide to 8 feet, and that will reduce the crossing distance for pedestrians. And as you see in the detail, we have the detectable warning at either end of the raised crossing, the 6-inch curb at the road face. And then moving into the corridor, as you see with the standard details, we have the bullnose at the end at the intersections. We've got concrete curbs 11.5 feet from the edge of curb. We're starting at the Melania Cass and moving south. This is our first floating bus island. We're reconstructing the roadway a little bit here to accommodate grades. We want that 6-inch curb along the roadway, and then to make sure our grades work across the sidewalk and the elevated crossing. And again, the curbs continue to provide that separation. See the floating bus island here. We're proposing a new inlet. In the previous one, the inlets worked out where we could reconstruct the roadway so that the existing inlet could accommodate the stormwater flow. Here we have grades pushing water out so that there's not ponding at the bottom of these raised crossings. Roadway and sidewalk just to get the grades to work. Here we're proposing a new crosswalk with new curb ramps and improving the curb ramps here at this crossing. And this is at New Market Square. We're making provisions here for a right turn lane. And again, we see the floating bus island and a new proposed crossing to the Stop and Shop entrance. And again, the drainage facilities to accommodate drainage for the raised crossing. Again, new curb ramps. This floating bus island is slightly different just to accommodate bicycles and pedestrians crossing at this intersection. There's accommodations made for a future RFB. The conduit will be placed now, and with future development, the RFB will be installed. And again, the drainage structure is there. Again, that curb separation along the corridor. And the final floating bus island with the new drainage structure at Columbia Road. And these plans have been reviewed by Boston Public Works, Boston Water and Sewer Commission, the Disabilities Commission, and various other agencies. And that's what we're proposing for the Mass Ave corridor. Does anyone have any questions?
John, thanks for that. Quick question on coordination with street lighting, which John or Jen, you guys might be able to speak to. In the areas where we're actually reconstructing the sidewalk, have we coordinated with Mike Donaghy and the street lighting team or Joe Sullivan to see whether there's street lighting improvements we would also want to make?
There are a couple locations where we are relocating a street light, and so we've been working with them to follow kind of standard practices for our projects when we do that, rebuilding the foundation, but minimal changes to the actual infrastructure itself, the pole, the lighting, kind of thing like that. As I very briefly went in the beginning of this with the intro, there is a follow-up effort to come through and take a look at the quality of the pavement, quality of the sidewalks, accessible grading, continuous path, and the lighting as well, because we know that it is somewhat intermittent along the corridor. But wherever we are breaking ground with these floating bus stops or ramps and it affects a street light, they have been involved with, approving the new location and saying that our facility is good. So we're acceptable.
Great, thank you for that. Happy to help sort of coordinate a conversation between now and the public hearing to see if there are any other additional things, particularly on the east side. I feel like the lighting, the sort of northbound side, I feel like there have been issues around the lighting in the past that we might want to be able to address as part of this.
Yeah, so I think that the lighting and the sidewalks in this location are both pretty in need of revamping. And I think that the lighting should come with the new sidewalks. And those are follow-on projects that are in the pipeline. This is just something that we could break free and give them now.
Got it. And then related to that, I assume that the dividers that we're using is similar to what we put in on Mass Ave between Beacon and Huntington Ave, essentially.
Yeah, the on the plans here, the solid black rectangles and the hollow rectangles there, those are the precast concrete curbing.
We should, as we get through this winter, we can sort of see, are there any sort of minor changes that we would want to make associated with sort of lessons learned over the course of this winter?
In this project specifically, because the nature of this corridor is different than Mass Ave, we were considering putting flex posts on top of these guys because of the parking that doesn't exist in certain locations and the speed and things of cars. So.
Yep. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
we're going back to put them on the ones that don't have them. So.
Yeah.
Good. Other questions or comments here?
Chief, this is PJ. Just to echo John's and Amy's point, this is primarily to introduce another safe mode of transportation for our cycling community. Mr. Monacelli did mention that there are some safety challenges throughout this corridor. Some of those may have been addressed by this project, but I think there are still some that needs to be. So I don't want anyone who is listening on this hearing thinking that this is the be all and all project. This is just an amazing start at providing an adequate mode of transportation to our multimodal desires, i.e. the bicycling community. So we are accomplishing that, but there's still some work that needs to be done, and that will follow up hopefully sooner rather than later.
Great. Thank you, Par. Other questions or comments? Todd or Avi?
Two quick things I'll mention. One of the driveways at the Stop Shop entrance, that design is still being massaged a little bit, but John and I have been working on that, and we'll figure something out, hopefully in the next 2 weeks. Also, the only outstanding question that PIC staff has is related to the snow removal from these islands. I think it's critical that we figure that out sooner rather than later, so that we don't have bus stops with, we don't have issues there during the winter.
Oops. So thanks so much, Todd. Go ahead, John. Okay. All right. Any members of the public?
I see none.
All right. Jen, John, and John, 2 weeks enough time? Or 3 weeks? Actually, Todd, when's the next PIC?
2 weeks, December 3rd.
What, 2 weeks enough time?
Yep.
All right. You guys on December 3rd.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to our next item of new business, Harvard Avenue, Hyde Park, granted location on a petition by Crown Castle.
Good morning, Chairman Osgood, members of the board. This is Herb Bertoni from Crown Castle. There we go. The camera on. And look at this. There. Can you see that?
It's coming up right now. Yep, we got it.
Excellent. Okay. We are petitioning for a grant of location with lead company status and no participants on Harvard Street in Hyde Park. The job is for a new backbone lateral for the city of Boston, located at 42 Bow Street. The length of the dig is 348 feet of conventional 4-inch conduit. It has one handhole, and it also includes city shadow conduit. And that is what we are proposing. today.
This is for the City of Austin sort of
Project.
project. Got it. Okay, great. If you can take a look at between now and the public hearing about potentially moving that handhold from the essentially the gutter to sort of the furnishing zone, and the implications of that'd be helpful.
Oh, sure, definitely. We had already moved it down a little from the handicap ramp.
Yeah, appreciate that change. And great. Other questions or comments? Todd or Robbie? All right, members of the public?
None.
All right. We'll see you on December 3rd. Does that work for you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right, until then.
Have a good Thanksgiving. Take care. Thanks.
Our final item of new business, 17-19 Stevens Avenue at Brown Terrace in West Roxbury, a granted location on a petition by National Grid.
Good morning, Commissioners. Peter Nagel from National Grid. I'm joined by Sam Uifo from National Grid, who is our project engineer, and Steve Damiano, who is our permitting consultant, both of whom have been actively involved in the discussions before you. I'm just trying to get my screen here to share. What you have before you today is a request from National Grid to replace in kind a roughly 50-year-old regulator station on Severns Avenue in the sidewalk at the corner of Brown Terrace. As I speak, I'm not getting the share button to work, so I apologize for that. The request is to replace the existing vault in kind in the sidewalk. We had expended other opportunities in the area, but if you're familiar with the location, it's a fairly busy commercial district right on the edge of that. So we're looking to replace in kind the vault. What you have before you, if you see the pictures below, you're looking at the present location. The existing concrete pole would be the location where our SCADA box would be located, the traffic box, if you will. And then there would be 2 vent poles on the fronting sidewalk. There is inlet piping at the back end. I will reference again the bottom right-hand picture. If you can see where roughly where that van is kind of a good dialogue for that location. And then the other piping would come toward Brown and would need to go up to almost Center Street to tie in there. So the location itself for the pit is pretty matter of fact. The work to replace the pipe to Center Street, while would be a little bit different, if you will, in the sense of a traditional regulated pit replacement. That street is wide. It is one way going from Center. It is wide enough that we would be able to do our excavation and provide access. There might be a small impact on the parking on Severns. Other than that, I fully envision us to be able to keep that street open. Well aware that it is a key cut through from Center over to the other side of town. So that would be that. This would be a station that we would look to do early next year because of the pipe work. It'd be present station serves about 10, 11, 12,000 customers, and obviously would like to get that based on a hopeful positive finding from the commission and successful road opening permits, to do this job early next year to get it online for the following heating season, if you would. I referenced the skater box and the vent posts on the front-facing side of that curb. That would ensure any access through that area as well. We have had comments as recently as this morning, communication with Boston Water and Sewer, that we're in agreement with relative to some construction activity if and when we were likely to get this grant. Other than that, I'll leave it up to the commission to ask any questions.
Much. Questions or comments by members of the commission?
Peter, this is PJ. Peter, this is a one-way street. Have you had a chance to talk to Mr. Hesford from the Boston Transportation Department to make sure? Peter, in a nutshell, because it's a one-way street, you somehow need to manage construction, so there is access to the street. Otherwise, it would be really, really awkward. And it may be best that you connect with Mr. Hesford, so that when you do come time to pull the construction permits, everything will go as smoothly as you normally expect us to do.
Be happy to do that, Power. We do that quite regularly, as you know, to talk to he as well as public works folks, neighborhood services as well. Probably even canvass the top of center there to give those abutting businesses a heads up as well when we were putting plan to foot, if you will.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that.
We'll get in touch with Ed prior to the public hearing.
Excuse me, Amy?
Can you just touch base with Ed prior to the public hearing so we know that there's no issues?
Sure, I'll do that. Absolutely.
And for notification, Peter, to your last point, just connecting with JP Center South Main Streets, who has sort of a great way of being able to connect with all those businesses on Center Street, I think will be valuable. That doesn't have to happen prior to the public hearing, but if and when the work goes forward, there'll be an important group just to connect with.
Prior to us going out there a couple of weeks beforehand, Commissioner, we'll do that.
Yeah.
That is acceptable to you?
Yes. Yep. And then it is noted on the plans, but just to confirm the covers that you would be using are covers that have been approved by the Commission for Persons with Disabilities.
Yes, again, on all of our proposals going forward, we implemented a pilot plan with them, with the commission folks a couple of years back, and since that time, we've been using the same approved doors.
Got it, Peter. Thank you so much. All right. Any other questions or comments by members of the commission? Adarabi?
Peter mentioned the box and the vent posts, and he mentioned that he has coordinated the placement of those with disabilities. These plans just need to be updated to include a clear dimension at those locations, just so that we can ensure that there's the minimum 5-foot clear path of travel for pedestrians.
I'll make sure you get that, Todd.
Thank you.
Any members of the public?
I see none.
All right. Peter, if you can make those updates and connect with Eddie that had heard prior to December 3rd, that'd be great.
We'll do that.
All right, we'll see you on December 3rd then.
And then, Commissioner, do you want that in writing that we've reached out to him, or how do you want that?
Yeah, if you just keep me on the email chain with Ed, just to make sure he's all right.
Will do. Thank you, Amy.
Great. All right, with that was our final item. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is that a
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank
so
you for
moved.
your time.
Take care, all.